Hi everyone, and welcome back to episode 3 of Storytime with Dolly. So, today I have a couple of stories for you guys in this single video, and I hope you guys can enjoy it. And if you do, then don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. So, let's get started. Some 10 years back then when I was schooling, right now I am a working lady. So, my family had purchased a property at a good rate at the city outskirts. To be very specific, at Trichy. So, the entire area had a very little supply of houses. Like, you could literally count them. Okay. And the distances between these houses were like at least 500 meters. So, you can imagine how distant each of these houses were from each other. It was because it was a newly developing area. It was like 3 kilometers away from the city. All right. So one night there was a heavy rain and the power was off. And in my house there was an inverter. Okay. So because like it keeps on going on and off, like the electricity is not uh, very stable. So we have an inverter at our house, but our gate doom lights, they don't work with the inverter. So it's not the door, like the main gate. Okay, like जो होता है ना, एक surrounding होता है अपने घर का, and then you have a main gate, that kind. So in the middle of the night, like after 1 a.m., okay, we suddenly hear a calling bell. Now this had happened to us before multiple times. Since our calling bell, initially they did not have a mechanism built around it to evade the rainwater. So when too much rainwater goes in, it starts ringing randomly once in a while. We were spooked the first time it happened. It happened during a similar rainy night when it happened at the first time. So when it happened this time, we ignored it.
But then it happened multiple times. The bell was ringing multiple times. So now we were like genuinely spooked. And me and my father couldn't see anything near the gate. We tried peeking through the window, but due to absence of any light source, as I already mentioned that near our gate, the inverter light does not work. Now we made out at the veranda with flashlights, and I was stunned to see a figure standing outside on the rainy night. Like it was raining heavily, and this man, it was an old man, was standing near our gate and ringing the bell again and again in that rainy night. He was like really old, and he was ringing the bell asking us to let him in. We couldn't really process this because it was quite late at night, and we did not see any purpose of that old man to be there at that point of time when it was raining so heavily. And we couldn't see any car or a bike or a bicycle nearby by which we could figure out that okay, maybe when he was traveling and his car got broken down or something like that happened, and so he wants help. And he was like trying to enter the house like very desperately. Okay, we were feeling really bad that there's this old man in this heavy rain looking to come inside looking for help, and we wanted to help him, but on the other hand we couldn't let him in, like, because we were scared if we would be scammed and there'll be other people there and they're just coming to loot us. And as I already mentioned that all the houses are like at least like 500 meters apart. So even if something happened in our house, it's raining heavily, and we won't be able to get help. So we were scared. But then we gave him a towel through the gate. We did not open the gate, we gave him a towel, and then he demanded some food from us. So we gave him the leftover food that we had because dinner was already done and everything, but we had some food left, so we heated up that food and we gave it to him. And now this old man started calling my father as his son, and he started begging to let himself into the house. But we did not have any guts to let him in, fearing, as I said, any ambush. Because we were new to the place and there was nobody nearby to call for help. There was no power as well. There's always a possibility, right, that this old man is the bait and we are being scammed for a robbery. So we never let him in. And he was like helplessly begging, seeing my father as his son and us, his granddaughters and grandson, and all of that. Okay, now the rain stopped, like it was drizzling, and we gave him a new dhoti and shirt from within the gate. He wore it and he just sat outside by the gate. And I believe he dozed off because he stopped like ringing the bell or he stopped making sounds. I thought that he got tired now, and then he might be drunk or whatever. All of that things were going in my mind. Okay, now this is the spooky part. The next morning, we never saw or heard from the old man. We asked around that place, and nobody knows who that man is. Nobody knows of an old man who would be walking around at 1 a.m. at night, or nobody knows about an old man who lives alone like that. Okay, and he also did not say anything before leaving, as far as I remember, that night. Okay, and none of the houses around us even saw him. Like, that was the most spooky part. And that men did not go to any other house for help except for our house. Okay, but for a few days I was worried and I felt pity about the old man, as I remember, seeing a small bleeding by his head as well. But the more I think about it, the more I feel it's a paranormal experience that we might have had that night. As the next day, there was no trace about this old man. No one even came searching for him. Maybe he was a spirit, long dead, who wanted to come to our house and maybe be a part of us at that time. But I guess we're never gonna know what actually happened. And then we lived in that house for another 9 years, but we never saw or heard about any random old men knocking the door claiming as we were his son and grandsons. So that was all for story number one. Let's move into story number two. So this happened in 2021, where my family had moved to a 2 BHK rental apartment just nearby our house. Actually, we were rebuilding our house, so we had to just shift there for time being. Now, my sister had recently delivered a baby, and she was staying with mom and brother in that apartment. Since my mom had no experience in taking care of newborns, my two chitty family used to stay with them at night for most of the days. Now, my brother sleeps in one bedroom and rest others they sleep in the other bedroom. Okay. Now, one day when everyone was having dinner, my brother suddenly says that he feels that someone walks in the hall at midnight. My mom then slowly said, few days back she felt like a hand was coming near the baby, as if, you know, it's trying to hold it, like to hold the baby. She moved closer to the baby and then she wrapped her hands around it and she was like really scared. But then she did not tell it to anyone because she did not want to scare anyone. And while my mother was saying that, my sister was shocked. Then she also started saying that she felt the same hand, like not the same hand, like she felt the same thing, that a hand was coming near the baby, the newborn baby, and she did the same few days back. Okay, Chitty 1 2 also said the same. I earlier told that two Chitty's family used to come and stay with us. So yeah, my cousin brother, who usually stays with them, had very weird dreams when he stayed the first night in that apartment. And since then, he had never slept there. He just comes in the day and then he leaves in the evening. But then he also never said that because of the same reason. He did not want to be scaring anyone. Until that day, no one disclosed all the experiences, as again, did not want to scare others. Everyone got scared after the disclosure of like what everyone was feeling in that apartment. And then we finally left that apartment to our chitty's house, and then we stayed there for 2 weeks. They did some cleansing and said they no longer had any such weird encounter, and they vacated that apartment and moved to our newly constructed house 5 months later. And yeah, but we're never gonna know what actually was happening in that apartment, but whatever it was really, really scary.
ओके सो अभी जो मैं दूसरा कहानी बताने जा रही हूँ बिफोर दैट आई वुड लाइक टू मेक इट क्लियर दैट दीज स्टोरीज आर रैंडमली पिक्ड फ्रॉम रेडिट एंड इसको मैं एज अ फर्स्ट पर्सन बताती हूँ जैसे कि ये एक्सपीरियंसेस मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया है maybe in the future I'll come up with experiences that I have personally gone through. And also if you guys have some interesting stories that you would want me to share it with with other people through this channel, you can send me the story in the email id that I'll be attaching below in the description of this video. So let's get started. I'm an engineering student, and we were having our semester exams at that time. So, me and my friend were studying in my room. So, basically, we stay in a hostel. It was night and we both were studying. So, I went outside for a while, outside my room, just to see what others were doing. And let's call my friend Anmol, okay? So, Anmol was in her room, and now I have a very bad habit of scaring people, and which I'm not very proud about. So, after some time, I quietly went back to the room, and without making my friend aware, I went and stood behind her without making any noise and waited for her reaction basically. So, she was very scared after seeing me all of a sudden, and she went like mad and was literally in tears and said not to do this again with her. Also, one more thing that I forgot to mention is she never slept alone in her room at night. Even when like her roommate is not present, she wants at least one, you know, person to sleep with her in her room, or she'll go and sleep with someone else in their room. But she will never sleep alone. Okay? And on that day, she told me the reason why she used to do that. So she narrated the story behind why she gets so scared. So let's begin the story that she told me. So once she was in ninth standard, they used to have these extra classes. I'm sure everybody is aware of what extra classes in school are. We basically have it before the exams, etc. Right? Now, and the school was far away from her home. So she and her other four friends decided to rent a room which was nearby to their school for few days. So their parents also agreed, and they took a room in a building which is under construction. Now, it was the only house in that locality that too was under construction, and area around was kind of like a jungle, like a forest. Okay, so all five of them were studying, and it was cold out there at that time, and and it was already evening, and the sun was already set. Always sitting with a lamp and studying because no lights, because house was still under construction. Now the door was open, and suddenly they saw something white thing pass from the door that they were in, like the door of the room they were in. Now they were a little confused on what that thing was. Now just imagine all of them, all five of them, are seeing that thing. Okay, but then they ignored it and they all went to sleep. Okay. Now, in midnight, one among them started behaving like very weird. She wanted to say something, but no words were like coming out of her mouth. It seemed like that, okay? and she was like literally crying and was helpless, and all of them were very scared by seeing their friends in the condition that their friend was in. But anyhow, like they made her to calm down and they all went back to sleep. Now the next day, when all of them like asked her what was up with her and why she was behaving so weird, what she said was really really scary. Now, personally, I myself was really shocked and was literally shivering when Anmol told me this. Now let's hear what Anmol told me. She said, when last evening, when all of them were studying, and all of a sudden also a white color thing passing, this boy actually, I'm sorry, this girl actually saw a lady in white sari and holding a baby in her hand, and she was constantly staring at her eyes. She said last night she was crying and behaving weird because this same lady was sitting on her chest. She wanted to ask for help, but no words were coming out. After hearing this, all thought that something is not good with that place and they decided to leave the place. Now, when they were leaving, on the other side of the road in front of the house, there were a lot of people standing and making a group. Okay. Now, these people, these five friends, when they went to see their like what's happening, to their surprise, there was a dead body of newborn baby wrapped in white cloth. After hearing this story, I was scared to hell and I did not sleep that night.